Compared to Stellar Crown, the card rulings for Surging Sparks are milder than the ranch dressing I soaked my feet in last night. That being said, we do have some stadium nonsense with Roaring Moon EX and Pikachu EX. And if it's anything like Neutralization Zone in Roaring Moon EX, Pokemon TCG Live will get the interaction completely wrong. As a reminder, Pikachu EX's Resolute Heart ability says, if this Pokemon has full HP and will be knocked out by damage from an attack, it is not knocked out and its remaining HP becomes 10. The would be knocked out part of the ability is extremely important because the ruling here has to deal with Lively Stadium, which boosts the hit points of all basic Pokemon by 30. So if a Roaring Moon EX uses Calamity Storm and discards the stadium, will Pikachu EX survive? The answer is actually no. PokeGym has the full written explanation, but essentially Pikachu EX has 230 hit points at the time of attack thanks to Lively Stadium. The Roaring Moon player has declared that they will discard the stadium with Calamity Storm, meaning they will deal 220 damage. But since that damage is less than Pikachu's current hit points and it will survive, Resolute Heart does not activate. Then Lively Stadium is discarded, putting Pikachu back down to 200 hit points, resulting in a knockout. It's a little confusing, but essentially if the damage done to Pikachu EX doesn't equal or exceed its current HP, Resolute Heart does not activate. And if Resolute Heart doesn't activate, Pikachu doesn't survive. Now here's where things get a little complicated. In the unlikely event a Roaring Moon EX has a Vitality Band attached and uses Calamity Storm to discard Lively Stadium, Pikachu EX will actually survive. As PokeGym explains, the attack places 230 damage onto Pikachu EX, thus meeting the full HP condition in order to trigger Resolute Heart. Then the stadium is discarded and Pikachu EX survives with 10 HP remaining, 190 damage on it. Like I said, kinda confusing. Basically, if you're a Roaring Moon EX player running Lively Stadium, don't attach a Vitality Band and you'll be able to KO a Pikachu EX with Calamity Storm. If you're wondering about whether or not Pikachu EX prevents a one-hit KO from Roaring Moon's Frenzied Gouging or Giratina V-Star's Star Requiem, the answer is no. Resolute Heart only activates if it's damage from an attack. Both Frenzied Gouging and Star Requiem are effects of an attack. PokeGym also added the full ruling for Roaring Moon and Neutralization Zone to their compendium. Pokemon TCG Live got this interaction completely wrong at launch, which is why I'm less than hopeful that they'll get the Lively Stadium Pikachu EX interaction right. So if the very specific Lively Stadium situation ever pops up IRL, refer them to this video or PokeGym's official rulings, not live. From this point, the Surging Sparks rulings are all fairly straightforward. For instance, if you use the new Rotom's Crushing Pulse, you don't get to pick and choose which items or tool cards are discarded from your opponent's hand. All of them must be discarded. The wording kinda makes that clear, but it's still good to have the clarification. And how about Togekiss's Wonder Kiss ability? For this specific example, they asked if poison damage during Pokemon Checkup activates its ability. The answer is yes, and it doesn't stop there. Regardless of the reason why, whenever your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, including if they blow up their own Magneton or Dusclops or Dusknoir on their turn, Togekiss's ability activates, giving you a chance at an extra prize card. As for Koraidon's Unrelenting Assault, it only does boosted damage if one of your other ancient Pokemon used an attack during your last turn. While it doesn't work if you attacked last turn with the same Koraidon, you will deal the extra 150 damage if you attacked with a different Koraidon, regardless of whether or not that different Koraidon is also the one from Surging Sparks. Despite how it sounds, that sentence was 100% accurate. While I'm a little late for the pre-releases when this ruling would have been relevant, you can't use Quaquaval's Up-Tempo ability to put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck if you have 6 or more cards in hand. You have to be able to draw a card to activate Up-Tempo. Moving to the trainers, and specifically the SPECs, both Amulet of Hope and Brilliant Blender must be used when activated. For Amulet of Hope, if the Pokemon it's attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, you must take at least one card from your deck. So if you only have one card left in deck when Amulet of Hope is activated, you will lose the game when you do your draw for turn, as you'll be out of cards. For Brilliant Blender, you can't play it for 0 effect. If you choose to use it, you must discard at least one card from your deck. Diving a little deeper into this for those who might not know, the reason why you can't fail Brilliant Blender is because your deck size is public knowledge. If you have at least one card in your deck, your opponent knows you have at least one card in your deck. Alternatively, the reason you can fail something like Ultra Ball is that the contents of your deck aren't public knowledge. So even if you have 30 cards in deck, it's possible none of them are Pokemon. Now it's time for a card that might not even be coded into Pokemon TCG Live. The effect of Tyme is a little weird. First, you have to have a Pokemon in your hand. Then you tell your opponent the name of a Pokemon in your hand. Then your opponent has to guess that Pokemon's hit points. If they're right, they draw 4 cards. If they're wrong, you draw 4 cards. As PokeGym explains, you have to state the full card name when putting a Pokemon face down. So instead of just saying Ceruledge for Ceruledge EX, you have to say the full Ceruledge EX. But for someone like Charcadet, you can say Charcadet and they have to guess if it's the 60, 70, or 80 hit point versions. Basically, Tyme's only usefulness is when you have a deck featuring Pokemon with the same name of varying hit points. Or you can try to take advantage of a newbie who doesn't have the HP of every Pokemon memorized. Now, when I say Tyme might not be included in Pokemon TCG Live, what I mean is the dev never implemented Blaine's quiz show, which has a somewhat similar effect. The only ways they could put Tyme into Live are if they code in an HP slider when you're asked to guess, or if they give you multiple choice with 3 or 4 options. But multiple choice would help out the guesser too much, and the HP slider is too much work for the developer. Unlike the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, which is in the game, I just don't see them creating a whole new interaction for an uncompetitive card. We'll see for certain on Thursday though. Oh, and someone in the PokeGym forums raised a fun question: how does Tyme interact with V-Unions? There was no answer at the time of recording this video, but if Tyme is put into Live, expect using it with a V-Union to cause your phone to explode. I only highlighted the significant rulings from Surging Sparks in this video, but there are a few more listed on PokeGym's website. So if you ever want to nerd out at your local game store and make people think you're weirder than the guy with a ponytail and a katana, comb through their website and prepare your best, actually in the mirror.